Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into Ernest Hemingway's Across the River and Into the Trees, focusing on the last few days of its main character, Colonel Richard Cantwell.
That's right. We're working from excerpts of the novel itself, and our mission really is to unpack this character, Colonel Cantwell. He's dealing with some serious physical issues, deep psychological wounds from war, and he's trying, desperately almost, to maintain control and, well, dignity in his final moments.
And the setting is just so evocative post-war Venice, the Veneto region. It feels charged, beautiful, but also scarred, much like the Colonel himself.
Exactly. He knows his time is short. That awareness hangs over everything.
So let's dive in where Hemingway starts us off. We're on the edge of the Venetian lagoon. We meet Cantwell. The text often just calls him the shooter getting ready for a duck hunt near the Tagliamento River. And right away, there's this tension.
Oh, absolutely. The environment itself feels almost hostile. The ice is described as newly frozen, kind of rubbery and bending. Breaking through it is slow, hard work. And that friction, it immediately plays out with the Italian boatman.
Yeah, that relationship is intense from the get-go.
Mhm.
Cantwell's thinking of him as a surly jerk, a big brute. He feels the boatman is smashing the ice like he's getting rid of something obscene.
But here's the fascinating part, isn't it? Cantwell is seething inside. He's angry, he's working hard, sweating. But his actions are pure professional.
He beats that lovely double shot, a perfect kill.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And crucially, Hemingway notes he adjusted the line of fire on the second bird specifically so the boatman was completely out of harm's way. Even furious. His training, his professionalism, it's automatic.
And the boatman's reaction?
Just yells back, "Don't shoot toward the boat!" Completely dismisses the skill involved. It kind of sets the tone, doesn't it? No matter how good he is, he's up against something bigger.
And we get a visual cue about his status almost immediately, too. His jacket.
Right, the old combat jacket. And the detail about the straps, these slate light places where stars had been removed. You can literally see his demotion.
So he wasn't always a colonel.
No, clearly a former general officer, knocked down in rank, maybe too outspoken, maybe clashed with command. It hints at a difficult past beyond just combat.
That detail, the missing stars, it leads us straight into his physical state, which is basically the ticking clock driving this whole narrative. He's 50, and his health is, well, it's precarious.
Extremely. We find out he had a physical before this trip, and he took mannitol hexanitrate to sort of game the system.
Mannitol hexanitrate, that sounds serious.
It is. Think nitroglycerin-based compound. Very volatile stuff back then. He wanted the cardiograph to look wonderful, like a man of 25. Control again.
Even though it was dangerous for him.
Definitely. The text states it was definitely contraindicated because he already had high intraocular and intracranial pressure. Basically, pressure in his eyes and head. Taking this stuff was a huge risk.
There's that dark humor, too,
Yeah.
with his friend the surgeon.
Yeah, the surgeon tells him, basically, try not to bump into anything or get near sparks when you're souped up on nitroglycerin. I mean, it's grimly funny. He's literally a walking time bomb.
Sustained by something explosive, the irony.
And it piles on top of a lifetime of impacts. The surgeon asks about concussions. Cantwell's estimate? Maybe 10, counting polo.
Wow. Just casually lumping war injuries and, well, rich guy sports injuries together.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? It's all just accumulated damage to him, physical damage.
And the mental damage. We see that with his driver, Jackson. Jackson talks about the Rapido.
Ah, yes. The Rapido River crossing. For anyone listening who doesn't know, it was a really brutal, costly failure for the Allies in Italy. Became infamous, shorthand for a terrible loss of life for maybe no good reason.
And Cantwell gets it. He acknowledges Jackson's specific pain.
He does, but he also contextualizes it within the sheer length of his own service. He tells Jackson something like, everybody who's soldiered a long time has had their Rapidos, and more than one. He's carrying the weight of all the failures, not just his own. It's crushing.
Okay, so this awareness of history, of repeated failure, it continues as they drive towards Venice itself, right? He's looking at the landscape.
Very much so. He's focused on the destruction, particularly around bridges, always key targets in war. He even gives Jackson this piece of cynical advice. Don't ever build yourself a country house, 800 yards away from any bridge.
Practical advice, born from bitter experience. He's seen it all before.
He connects the land, the culture, which feel permanent, with the destructive cycle of war, which feels transient but keeps repeating. But then the conversation takes this unexpected turn.
Into art, of all things. Jackson offers his preliminary theory.
Yeah, this idea that Renaissance Madonnas are somehow a manifestation of Italy's Bambini business, linking the art to high birth rates and poverty. It's a bit, well, a bit crude.
A very modern, maybe slightly reductive take.
And who steps in? Cantwell, the hard-bitten soldier. He's the one with the cultural knowledge. He corrects Jackson's terms campaniles, not just bell towers. And he casually mentions that Titian, the great painter, was from the Cortina area.
So he wasn't just fighting in Italy. He absorbed its culture, its history.
Deeply. And that leads to this really powerful moment when he sees Venice across the lagoon. He says he's a part owner.
Because he fought for it.
Yes, back in World War I, as a young man, he shed blood for Venice. And he makes this pointed distinction, he says, talking about Venice. It is not France.
What do you think he means by that?
Well, I think he's separating his personal connection, his earned loyalty to this specific place from the broader, maybe more impersonal, strategic objectives of the military machine he's come to resent. His ownership claim feels moral, personal, paid in blood, not political.
That makes sense. So this internal battle for control, mirroring his struggles with the military. How does his relationship with Renata fit into this? She's the young Venetian woman, his lover.
Renata is absolutely key. She's very young, nearly 19. And he calls her daughter, which adds another layer of complexity. Their whole relationship seems defined by the fact that he's died.
There's no pretending.
None at all. It's based on this shared painful honesty. He keeps thinking, every time you shoot now can be the last shoot. And Renata, she tells him straight, you are going to die.
That's incredibly stark. Yet they create these moments of almost normal life, like at Harry's bar.
Right. Drinking those Montgomery martinis, which is another dig, naming a very dry martini after a general he disliked in this famous kind of glamorous spot. And they have this joke about having 5 sons.
Which is just heartbreakingly impossible.
Exactly. It's defiant, though. They're asserting this future they both know won't happen. It's like they're building a little fantasy against the inevitable.
And they exchange gifts that seem loaded with meaning.
Very symbolic gifts. She gives him her portrait. A painting of herself.
And he promises to hang it up, telling people it's his daughter's portrait. Protecting her reputation, maybe? Preserving her youth in his memory?
I think so. And he gives her something she really wanted, this jeweled turban pin called the Little Negro. It's like he's giving away a piece of his past, maybe something exotic he acquired through his military life, in exchange for this image of her youth. He's passing things on.
Recognizing she's the one who will continue.
And she's brug into his world, too, in a way. She reveals her family also fought, and that she's been inducted into this secret order he started with the Gran Maestro, por mérito de guerra.
For war merit. So she's not just an outsider. She's acknowledged within his code of honor.
She's an inheritor, in a sense.
Yeah.
Inheritor of his legacy, his sense of honor, which stands in stark contrast to how he feels about the official military leadership.
Right. That contempt for the high command is never far away, is it? He has such respect for the infantrymen, the actual fighting, but the generals?
Oh, he lets them have it. Montgomery gets dismissed as cautious to a fault, a character who needed 15-to-1 to move. And Patton. He questions the image, the crowd-catching kit.
Is that fair, though? Isn't Cantwell himself putting on a performance, taking that drug to fake the medical exam?
That's a great point, and it gets to the heart of his contradictions. I think Cantwell sees his own deception, the drug, as internal, private. It's about maintaining his dignity, his ability to control his own end. He sees Patton's kit as external, public, about ego, about managing perception. For Cantwell, the real stuff, the important stuff, happens down in the mud.
And his bitterness comes from seeing that sacrifice wasted by bad leadership. He talks about the triste métier of war, the sad trade of war.
And he recounts that absolutely horrific friendly fire incident, Hurtgen Forest, Staatswald area.
The Valhalla Express.
Yes, his incredibly bitter name for the Allied heavy bombers. They bombed his own regiment because the signal smoke blew back. Then the medium bombers came and hit the same smoke line again. Total disaster born from following orders from afar.
And the cost.
Devastating. He mentions losing 3 battalion commanders on the first day. His takeaway is bleak. In our army, you obey like a dog. I've only had 2 good masters so far. He feels the system itself betrayed his men.
Which explains why he rejects the idea of a traditional military burial like Arlington.
Completely. He doesn't want the pomp. He wants something authentic. He says he'd rather be buried up in the hills, on the dead angle of any shell-pocked slope, if they would graze cattle over me in the summertime.
Returning to the earth he fought over, nourishing it, not being part of some official narrative.
Exactly. It's about closing the loop on his own terms.
So the story brings us back to the lagoon, his final hours. After that second duck shoot, his body is clearly giving out.
Yeah. He's sweating heavily, takes 2 of his pills, washes them down with gin from his flask, and Hemingway gives us that detail. The flask is engraved, Richard from Renata with love.
She's with him, symbolically, right to the end.
And there's this moment of resolution, isn't there? On the boat trip back, that friction with the boatman, it's gone. They work in complete coordination.
He's found a kind of peace, maybe, just as his body fails him.
Perhaps. Synchronization achieved just as accepting sets in. He gets back in the car, heading towards Trieste, and then the crisis hits.
His final words to Jackson. They're famous.
Directly quoting the dying Confederate General Stonewall Jackson, "No, no, let us cross over the river and rest under the shade of the trees."
A soldier quoting another soldier at the very end. Quiet, dignified.
And his final physical action is just getting into the back seat, shutting the door carefully and well. That precision, that control maintained right until the last second.
But he leaves instructions for Renata.
Yes. Jackson finds the note, the wrapped painting, her portrait, and his 2 shotguns. Try to go back to the gritty hotel for their rightful owner.
Renata. He transfers everything of value, everything representing his life, the art, the tools of his trade to her.
It really brings it all together. Cantwell's identity is so complex. The physical decline, the military honor code, the deep connection to Italy, its land, its people. He was a man of action, of observation.
And he insisted he wouldn't write about it. He tells Renata, "I will not write, daughter. Boys who are sensitive and cracked write books." Yet what we have here in these sources is effectively his memoir, isn't it?
An involuntary one, maybe? All his detailed observations on war, art, love, loss. It's all laid bare. A final report from the front line of his own life.
So that final line he quotes from Stonewall Jackson, "Let us cross over the river and rest under the shade of the trees," is profound. What do you think for Cantwell that ultimate river really represented? Was it just death?
Or maybe something more. Was it crossing over from that lifelong duty, that constant fight, into something else? A legacy defined not by war, but by that final act of connection, of love for Renata.
Something for you, the listener, to think about. What was he truly crossing over into? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.